Trans issues, why?
Because that's what I usually talk about on here. I joined the server
What?
because
Hold on, that's what I talk about?
that's what I talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I joined the server because I think I saw a video against, or it was you and perspective philosophy. And then I watched that debate, and then I watched some other ones. And it seems like you kind of have this um, kind of aesthetic of like a alpha bro male that's trying like way too hard. It's a little cringy. But then I kind of went to the community, and I mainly disagree with the community. I'm not sure if you agree with their takes, but essentially, I think that we should allow children to receive hormone blockers. And if like doctors agree, we should probably allow them to get
Yeah,
hormones at like ages where
I
they're
just don't agree
going
with
through
that.
puberty.
Yeah, I just don't agree with that. It's
Okay, so what do you
yeah.
not agree with specifically?
I don't think someone can make a decision like that for a child.
Do you think we can make any medical decisions for children?
That concern their actual like saving their lives and their medical health, but not in terms of their
Yeah, sure.
sexuality. I don't think
It wouldn't
adults.
be in terms of their
I don't
sexuality.
believe.
It wouldn't be. Well, it wouldn't be in terms of their sexuality. It would be in terms of their mental health.
Right, but it's in the name of their mental health. I get that, but for purposes of determining their sexuality, I just don't think.
It's not determining their
Sorry, not
sexuality.
determining their
First of all,
sexuality, but like medically altering them in a way that pertains to their sexuality. So to me, I just
you mean their gender, or
yeah,
because
sure.
it's also not determining that either.
Well, gender and sexuality are related, right?
I I don't think they're interchangeable or synonymous. I mean, maybe they're related, but I don't know how that can. They're not synonymous in the sentence, so that's why I was getting confused. But by the way, like hormones, like hormone blockers, or just regular like HRT, this isn't like trying to change your gender. This is if the kid is already expressing some type of usually like gender dysphoria, like hate for their body. They go to like a therapist, and then that therapist signs off. So they go to an endocrinologist. That
You're
endocrinologist
saying
signs off. They
children are
usually get another
expressing this
therapist.
hatred for their body?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how old are these children?
Sometimes they're 7. Sometimes they're usually like teenage range, like 13, 14. But specific
Yeah,
hatred
I
towards
don't I
their body,
don't
in
look.
which
If you're
this is
7 years
specific
old,
hatred.
I'll give you an example of this.
Sure.
So when I was 6 years old, 5 to 7, right?
Uh-huh.
I was crying a lot. And I was crying because I wanted to be 16 years old. I'm not making this up by that. I wanted to be like 18. And the reason was because I was watching Drake and Josh in those shows. And I was like, I want to be like older. I want to live the life. I'm sick of being a kid. I don't want to be a kid anymore. Might sound funny. But I'm not even lying about this. And I would cry to my mom and I'd be like, I want to be 17. I'm 17. And I'm not saying that's like an analogy to trans people who, as adults, express this views about that they have gender dysphoria. But I'm just saying, like as a kid, kids express all range of emotions,
Yeah,
and that's
sure.
just not. It's not enough to like.
So if these emotions are consisting of uh, like a large feeling of like hatred towards your body in gendered senses, not in like, oh, I'm fat, oh, I'm like this type of thing. It's usually in like, oh, I am like, I'm a guy, I look like a guy, I'm going to grow up to have huge muscles, I'm going to have like a lot of facial hair, and that makes me really
But wait, I've
disgusted.
known
Um,
people. I've known like people who grew up and they would tell me, women who would tell me, for example, that they grew up always thinking of themselves like as a boy, for example, right? And they
I mean, yeah, yeah,
always
yeah. I've kind of grown up the same way. Like, I'm a tomboy, but I've never had a feeling of like, oh, I really want to be a guy. And I'm like
no,
close
they
to like
would tell me that
suicidal
they pretty
ideation
much
because of
no,
it.
that they would tell me that they had no identification with their like that they were women whatsoever. But when they became adults, the situation changed, right? And they decided, So I'm just saying, like, when you can express something as a child, but then when you're an adult, you change your mind, right? And to
Yeah,
me,
sure. That's why we give like children at like really young ages, um like like if it's like 12 or like 14 or these young ages, we usually give them like hormone blockers, because those are pretty reversible.
I don't know about if how are they reversible. I don't.
They kind of just like halt puberty. So imagine if you're like your body and how it
I don't
develops.
think
You
like puberty or sexual development or those kinds of things are well known enough to be able to come to the conclusion that this is not going to be a life
I mean, they've
altering.
been they've been researched for like over, I don't know, 25
They
years.
have not been well researched actually. This
I mean,
fear of
do you have any facts about this, or
I all I can say is it's not well researched. Like I don't know what you mean.
okay? I mean, so like you're saying it's not well researched. I
Yeah.
mean, um do
Do I
you
have a
have you looked
study
at
that
the
says
current?
it's not well researched? No, there's no such
No,
thing.
no, no. What I'm saying is, do you have like the current research, and you can like point out how it's not well researched? You don't have to like provide a
I don't
study of
have
a
one on hand,
counterclaim.
no. But I know
Okay.
that not enough is known
So you
about
know
how to.
about it. That's fine. So how it's okay if you just know it. So what's specifically not well researched about it?
Okay, the way the human body works, specifically how sexuality works, how puberty works, and how sexual development works, is not well known
Um I mean,
in general. It's
do you think
not
we
known,
shouldn't
for
have any type
example,
of like endocrine clinics or anything, or
that's
you
not
think we
relevant. It's not known, for example, why puberty happens at the
wait,
times it does.
do you know what an
It's not
endocrine clinic
known.
is?
It's not known, for example, what the factors that go into specific developmental trajectories for a given person and their body and their development. It's not even known, for example, and this is what I know too. It's not even known like what height your puberty is going to take you to. Actually, it's not.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The
These are
effects
all
of
things
puberty
that
are not
people.
known.
It's not known.
Sure.
If you're going to be able to grow a beard, it's not grown. Like you can look at your parents and roughly guess. And people say, "Oh, that means it's genetic," but they haven't found the genes and actually haven't pinpointed the actual mechanism by which it actually happens. So
Oh
these
yeah,
things
yeah,
are
yeah.
these things are
Okay,
not
wait.
known.
Okay, so you can not know how it actually happens, but you can know that it does happen. So like I don't know. I'm personally not like a mechanics person. I don't really know how a sink works. But like from me using a lot of empirical evidence, when I like turn the cold water on the sink, cold water comes out. So I'm guessing if I push the cold water comes out unless the sink is broken or whatever. So like we can study something even if we don't know how it
Yeah,
works.
I have
So,
a
like,
quote
and you
in
can
my
study the
chat. Yeah,
effectiveness
I
of
have a
it.
quote that some random person in my chat said. Little is known about the long term side effects of hormone or puberty blockers in children with gender dysphoria. Although the Gender Identity Development Service advises this is a physically reversible treatment if stopped, it is not known what psychological effects may be. It also not known whether hormone blockers affect the development of the teenage brain or children's bones. Side effects may also include hot flushes, fatigue, and mood alterations. And I'm gonna try
Yeah,
to find
sure.
the
So these
source.
are yeah. I've never claimed that that there isn't like any types of side effects to them. I never
Well,
said that.
it's saying that they're
What
not
I
well.
said
This is the National Health
what I
Service
said
of the
what I
UK
said
too.
what I said. Okay, so what I
Yeah.
said was that they're reversible, which I'm pretty sure you said in that quote.
No, it's
Right?
not what it said. It said that the Gender Identity Development Service, and I'm not sure their bias actually, advises this is a physically reversible treatment if stopped. And this, so they're saying
Mm-hmm.
going off of their word. I don't know how reliable their word is
Okay.
though.
Well, I don't know how reliable your quote is, but if you are relying on the quote,
It
then
comes from the
that
National
sounds
Health Service of the United Kingdom, so that's
that
where it
sounds
comes from.
pretty okay. Well, look. So I said that it was reversible. If we don't know like
I really
specific
don't
types
believe
of
it's
like,
reversible. I don't
okay,
believe it's reversible.
why do you not believe that? Is it just because you
I
have
don't
like
buy it.
a
I don't
bias?
buy that, for example, at such a crucial moment of a child's development, you can just take hormone blockers and that's not going to have implications for your long-term development if you cut them off and reverse them. I know
I mean,
how
for a lot
such
of kids,
small
it
things
doesn't.
influence such development. Um,
I mean, there's probably not been as much testing as if the person like um goes off of hormones or not
well,
hormones.
if
If they
there
go
hasn't
off
been
of
enough testing, then don't push it
can I
on
finish?
children.
Can I can I can I finish? So what I was saying is I don't think there's been a lot of testing where they where someone has gone on puberty blockers and then gone off of puberty blockers for a long period of time. I don't think there's been a lot of those things because not a lot of people like
Okay.
detransition out of the amount of trans people that already exist.
Well,
So having that amount of study would be, or having that amount of research might be hard because I think a lot of people stay on it, and the people who do stay on it, it seems like it's working pretty well for them. So I think we should continue providing the medication
yeah,
because that's how we figured out if anything goes wrong. If anything does go wrong, maybe we can revoke it. But from what I've seen so far, it doesn't seem like there's any type of like big negative effects from it.
yeah, but you just said that not like there hasn't been a good amount of studies for that specific circumstance, which means you don't know enough to know whether you should be able to push this on kids. It's like if they want to reverse
Wait, you're
it,
not pushing it on kids.
it's a permanent decision you're making for them.
It's not a permanent decision. Also, like you're not pushing it on kids. So usually in these appointments, when you're trying to get like puberty blockers, what happens is that they usually have like a therapist session, refer them to an endocrinologist. So they have like an endocrinologist is like a hormone person. I don't know if you.
Okay, yeah. Look, look. It's a nice sounding name, but at the end of the day, these people don't know.
You don't think a
they're
therapist knows about the
endocrinologists.
child's mental health? You don't
No,
think
I don't. I really
endocrinologist
don't.
knows about-
Absolutely
Really?
not.
You don't think people who study in their fields might know a bit about those fields?
No, I don't. I don't think they know anything about them.
I okay. Well, how do you know anything?
Well,
then?
here's why. Because just because you're putting a name on it and you're creating a profession and paying people.
Wait. Okay, no. You're not putting a
Okay.
name on your profession. You're training for around like 8
Yeah,
years.
well,
for your
you just
profession.
interrupted me, so you didn't actually hear what I was saying whatsoever. So
Okay. If
Yeah.
your statement changes,
just because you call it something and then there's a profession centered around pretending like you know things and finding patterns and doing all this kind of stuff doesn't actually mean you know the object you're pretending to know in actual reality, right? You're an endocrinologist. There were people who were phrenologists back in the day, right, where they were measuring or looking at people's skulls and seeing how that influences or determines their personality. So just because you have a profession and people are they're working on and that's what they do for a living doesn't mean they know the fucking mysteries of childhood development and childhood psychology and childhood mental health and things that people haven't even been able to master for like thousands of years, and we're still not even really close to being able to understand that.
Do you think? Yeah. So
Like,
this is
I would
the
love
case
to be
for-
shown, like, proof that these people really have unlocked the secrets of childhood mental health. So much so to the point where you can make decisions for children, impacting their adult futures and long-term futures.
So this is the case for every single medical field.
No, it's not. Because no. Here's the difference. It's absolutely not. Because in other medical fields. In other medical fields, say for psychiatry, usually you're getting medical treatments because you already have life-threatening or life harming, whatever, diseases and pathologies which you have no other choice but to treat in a way that medical professionals would be required in. That's why, for example, yes, it's true for every other medical profession, but we know that those things will help you, for example, in saving your life or preventing a long-term impairment of one of your functions in your body. You don't know with 100% certainty, but it more or less works. Now, the decision you're talking about in this case...
something besides like one sentence?
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So like, what I'm saying was the logic that you could use earlier, where you're saying that like we don't know everything that could happen. This is used in every single medical field.
No, I just explained why it couldn't be. I just explained why it couldn't be. Because in other medical fields, it's a risk versus reward situation.
We don't experience.
Yeah, it's a risk versus reward. It's a basic risk versus reward situation for all the other ones.
Okay, yeah, sure. And it's the same for transgender people.
No, it's not.
These people, when
it is not. It's absolutely not. The risk.
A lot of these people, when they go to therapists, they usually talk about like suicidal ideation in terms of gender dysphoria. So
okay.
A lot of these kids.
Well, if children are talking about that, I don't think if children are talking about suicidal ideation that any psychological, in terms of like chemicals, they should not be given chemicals in response to that in any capacity, whether it's pills for psychiatric pills for their mental health, or I don't believe in any of that for children. whatsoever.
You don't believe in helping children through medication?
Look, you worded that in such a Weasley fucking way. Oh, you don't believe in helping children with medication? Yeah, of course I do. Do I believe children's psychological problems should be addressed with chemicals? No, I don't.
So do you think we should help children's... Yeah, sure. I mean, I was asking a question so that I could clarify the position. So, are you saying that we should not give children any medication to help them with mental problems?
No.
So no, you're not saying that? Or yes,
I don't think you should. No,
that?
I don't think you should.
Okay. I mean, so wait, really? You don't think we should give children?
No, I don't think you should give 7-year-olds who are too hyper Ritalin and all this other dumb shit. I don't think you should give children all these fucking pills and chemicals which are gonna fuck them up in the long term. Fuck no, I don't think you should.
I mean, yeah, if they're gonna fuck them up in the long term.
But they are fucking them up in the long term, and we're seeing it in real time. You think I would let my kids? You think I would let a doctor give my kid fucking pills that are gonna alter how their brain fucking works? Fuck no. I was raised by my parents the way my parents were raised by their parents, and so on and so on. Sans maybe thousands of fucking years. We didn't have any of these fucking pills, and we've been doing fine. I'm not gonna raise my fucking kids in that way. And as far as I know about Americans and the American people are concerned, they also have traditions of raising children that stretch back hundreds and hundreds of years that weren't in need of these chemical brain altering things for their fucking kids. So yeah, I'm completely against that. 100,000 fucking %.
Okay, so you're just like this is just a hard line. You draw it on like any type of medication that would help a child with their mental problems. You don't want to ever
no chemicals whatsoever.
And that's just like a morality thing for you. That's nothing else. Like you would apply that to every other situation.
What are you talking about?
Can I think for a second?
Can you mute?
Can I think?
Oh, okay.
Let's say if you had a child that was like really like they had some type of like mental disorder, and this might cause them to like commit suicide.
Hold on. What mental disorder are you referring to?
This is just a hypothetical.
I don't believe that's how the brain works, though. I don't think you just have mental disorders that randomly cause you to commit, random acts. I'm coming from the perspective of psychoanalysis, so you're gonna have to be hard pressed.
I'm trying to give a hypothetical.
You're gonna be hard pressed to convince me that highly subjectivized and highly experiential things like suicide.
So the reason I'm giving you a hypothetical here is so that I can try to understand where your moral values are.
You're basically wasting You're wasting time. You're wasting my time right now. You're wasting my fucking time.
I mean, you could just
you don't need to explain to me the abstract merit of hypotheticals. What I'm trying to fucking tell you, that is not how the brain in relation to behavior works.
Are you okay?
There's no medical disorder that randomly has people commit suicide. It doesn't exist in reality.
Hypothetical, okay?
Well, it's not how the brain works, so it's a hypothetical premised on the false assumption of how brains work.
Okay, let's say...
Listen, I know you're trying to copy all of your speech patterns and mannerisms from fucking Destiny, but why don't you actually listen to what I just fucking told you? You are making the false assumption that the reason why people have suicidal ideation, all this kind of stuff, is directly caused by chemically identifiable disorders in the brain. I don't buy that paradigm of fucking mental health or psychiatry whatsoever. So the hypothetical is premised by an entirely, according to me, false view of psychology in the first place.
I don't buy that either. However, that's not what I was assuming. What I'm trying to give you is a situation in which
you could say, for example, they may have. You could try and say, for example,
and they need help.
You can try and say, for example, someone can be born with a severe case of autism, according to which they engage in highly destructive and self-destructive activity. For example, they're hitting themselves a lot and they're doing all this kind of things that...
Yeah, like self-injurious behavior,
Yeah. There's forms of extreme autism which fall into...
I actually studied this, so yeah, I know.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, and
Yes.
and
But
that
so in those cases, if there's some type of like pill you can give them that might alter their
that might calm them down. Sure.
chemistry, but it like works 100% of the time, would you be okay with it?
Yeah, sure. A sedative or
Okay.
something like that.
Cool.
Sure.
So
Otherwise, the
so it's
alternative is they're going to die, right?
okay. I mean,
But you have
they're
to
probably just gonna get
understand. You
injured.
have to understand that when you're
They're
talking
probably just
about
gonna get injured. You don't know if they're gonna die. Like they're just like hitting their head against a wall. Like I mean,
well,
they're gonna.
there's a high risk that they're going to
Yeah, sure.
they're constantly engaging in self injurious behavior,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Just like
it's
if a person's constantly engaging in suicidal thoughts where they have
yeah. But
plans
here's the
and
difference.
they're
Yeah, the difference in the case of suicidal ideation is that that's a highly subjectivized phenomena, which is
exactly.
mediated,
So that's why you
which is
go to a
mediated
therapist
actually by
before.
consciousness. It's something mediated by consciousness. In a case of severe autism and people engaging in this repetitive, extremely dangerous, self-destructive behavior, that's not a highly subjective behavior mediated by some labyrinth of consciousness. It's almost a kind of spontaneous pathological activity that they have for reasons that we can at least know cannot be addressed in the form of external environmental intervention. Like, and for example, in the way in which you talk to them and deal with them. Like, they, as far as we don't even know per se, but for now, there's no way we can deal with that whatsoever in any other way besides giving them some kind of sedative or giving them some kind of pill which will calm them down and prevent them from engaging in this behavior which is destructive to them and others. But that behavior can't be like psychoanalyzed, right? That behavior is just something they're doing almost like like an almost kind of like autonomously, right? Without any subjective or conscious, clear subjective or conscious mediation whatsoever. Like for example, they're not doing this. They're not like, oh yeah, I'm hitting myself and I'm hitting people because I'm sad or because my feelings were hurt or because I'm upset. They are just doing it, and you don't know why they're doing it, right? So, and you can't communicate them with in any way to figure out why they're doing it. So in that case, yeah, there's no issue, but that doesn't comprise that doesn't fall under the rubric of what I would call children's psychology, because that's more a case of physiology in that case. If it's something that's not subjective or consciously mediated, then it's physiological at that point, right? But in the case of children's psychology and their mental issues and their highly subjective consciousness, whatever, yeah, you don't respond to that with pills. That's something I fundamentally believe.
Okay, so I'm trying to. So it seems like you would respond to it by pills, though, if it was like a 100% guaranteed situation,
No,
right?
it has nothing to
Oh,
do.
really? Oh,
Even if it
okay.
was a 60% guarantee, the
No,
fact
no,
that
I
it's a
said
physiological.
100%. If it was a
But
100%
it's
guarantee,
irrelevant. 100 is irrelevant. Even maybe in some extreme cases,
I'm
15%
just
might suffice.
okay.
Because
So
they're
what I'm
engaging in a physiologically based, not psychological, physiological based, highly self
yeah.
destructive form of behavior to themselves and others. It's not about the percentage of how much times the pill would work. It is about the nature of the phenomena which needs to be addressed in the first place, which is not
Yeah, sure. Well,
psychological in
okay.
the sense that I'm referring
So
to
first
for
of
other
all, if
children.
you so first of all, if you're using a if the reason they're hitting themselves or doing some type of self-injurious behavior or having thoughts of suicide, if
No,
these
no, no.
can
You
be
just weaseled
fixed by
something
like
in. You just
chemical,
weaseled
if
something
they
in.
can be fixed,
You
if they
you
can be
just weaseled
okay,
something in that's
fine. If they're
impermissible.
just
You just
okay,
weaseled an impermissible thing
can
in.
I can
Not if
I
they're having thoughts of
can I
suicide. If
finish?
they
Can I
are
finish?
spontaneously and in almost involuntarily harming themselves or others, which is something that happens in severe cases of autism and maybe something like Down syndrome or things like that. Okay, but we're not talking
Okay.
about suicidal ideation
Okay,
here.
okay. We can scratch that and come back to it later. Um, so sure, if someone's having like self-injurious behavior, and if the problems are with like the chemicals in their brain or whatever, and then you give them a pill to regulate their brain chemicals, and it works 90% of the time, and 10% of the time, it might make their like bones slightly bigger, but it would like dramatically help with their like life. Do you think that we should give them this pill, or are you kind of against it
Well, let
because
me
it's like
address the way you just phrased that in two ways, right? The first one is you said their brain chemicals. That's not. the case of these cases that we're talking about are not down to some like arbitrary measurement of brain casuals. We're talking about
Yeah,
a
sure. I'm giving it.
physiological difference. There's a
Wait, okay.
physiological
So
difference. For example, people who have Down syndrome have different number of chromosomes. So it's not just a matter of brain chemical difference. They have a very clear, severe physiological
okay,
difference,
sure. It's not brain
which requires
chemicals,
them to
but
be
it's a
addressed
specific.
in a different way. So
Sure,
and
it's
then
not a
second
brain.
of all,
Okay.
second of all, the percent is irrelevant. If they are engaging in behavior in which they cannot be controlled, they cannot control themselves, where they're constantly hitting themselves and others and they need to be sedated, the risk and reward factor has obviously tilted to the point, because this is something, again, not being mediated by consciousness, something that's not highly subjective, but strictly physiological. The risk reward factor has shifted, just like if you got cancer or if you got some kind of disease, right? But even if you found a study in which you found that 80%, for example, of transgender people will grow up if they don't do this to engage in self-injurious behavior, you can't treat it as the same thing because it's not an involuntarily spontaneous physiological thing. It's something highly subjectivized and mediated psychologically and mediated consciously. So it's in no way comparable.
Do you think that subjective things in which you like mediate consciously, do you think that these things can be operationalized or
No, absolute. This is the number one prejudice
so?
of American psychiatry. And my answer is a resounding no, it can't.
Wait, why not? Like, it seems like you can
Because
do this with
these
all
things
other
are
things.
not reducible to their physiological substrates. And if you target their physiological substrates in order to affect the output, you are probably just harming and butchering this person's health, their physical
How do
health.
you know that? Like, it's
Because it's not physiologically reducible. A subject is not physiologically reducible to a chemical.
I know.
Yeah.
Most of
So
these are like
you can't
subjective
operationally
things. So what you're
control as someone's subjective conscious experience with chemicals.
well, no, you're not. Sorry, the word operationalize is to mean like to measure something subjective in an objective way. So instead of like so like something subjective is like walking across the street. So like what does that mean? Like we have to operationalize to figure out how do you like walk across the street. So if you like walk across the street halfway, but then kind of like go off the like crosswalks a bit and then go back on it and then finish, is that walking across the street? Like we have these different types of measurements and we group them in so that we can do like statistical analysis.
Yeah,
Do you think
I
that
don't
that's
think you can
okay?
do so under the paradigm of modern psychiatry and under the paradigm of modern natural science. I don't.
Um,
And the
is
reason
there a reason for
because,
this? Okay.
unlike in natural science, you are dealing with an object, which is not just an object. Okay, in natural science, you're just dealing with object. In this case,
Oh,
the observer themselves shares the same subjective position of enunciation, so to speak, as the so-called object.
well, isn't that kind of like doesn't this
Like a
reasoning
scientist
kind of
falsely objectivizes the other while not taking into account they are just doing they're making a subjective intervention upon another subject in the disguise that it's merely objective.
don't you think that your reasoning here kind of loops back into itself? Like you're saying, it sounds like this is what you're saying. I'm not saying you are. I'm trying to get more further clarification. It sounds like what you're saying is that in soft sciences or like social sciences, what they're doing is they're taking subjective material and they're operationalizing it into objective material to study it, and this is bad because it's not objective material. So what's like important about objective material? Am I missing something? Or?
Because they're not the same thing.
I mean, why does that matter towards whether
Because
this is
it's
like
not
important or
actually
not?
objective. That's why.
I mean, yeah, but if something highly correlates to like one factor, you can
But you
maybe try to
because
like
you
help
haven't
that one.
actually isolated the cause. But if you're treating it as objective,
But
you're
yeah,
doing a very
you
dangerous
can
thing.
never isolate the
You're
cause in
treating
like
the
scientific
cause
things,
as
even if it's
objective,
objective.
even though it's not.
Even if
Practically speaking, you're intervening in such a way so as to treat the cause as something objective by targeting the physiological substrates, when in fact it's not objective. So it's a very dangerous thing you're doing.
wait, okay, even even if you're measuring things that objective, you cannot say there is an objective cause. You can never do that in science.
Okay, but
Unless there's, like,
insofar
a
as you are
literal
making an
one-to-one
objective intervention in someone's physiology, that is what you're doing.
Can you say that in different words?
Insofar as the conclusion of such a study is going to allow you to intervene in people's physiological constitution with chemicals and pills and all this kind of shit, you are fucking doing that.
You're doing what?
You are treating it as objective.
Oh.
And you're treating the cause as objective.
Because you're... Well, no, you're not treating...
Yes, you are. You fundamentally are treating the cause as objective.
So if you would... So, like, usually in, like, scientific studies, they always... I don't think they ever say, like, this is the reason this happens, this is the cause 100%.
But it is practically and operationally implied in the method of treatment.
What does operationally implied mean?
It means in the mission of the way in which the treatment works implies that that is the cause.
But they don't. They don't
yes,
do that.
It does. The way the treatment works implies that it's the cause.
What study does this? That they imply it's the cause.
Every single one that's relevant to what you're talking about.
No, they usually say they have a sort of like correlation, and that they should further continue into their studies to figure out if the correlation they can repeat this.
Gina, whatever your name is.
Xena, it's like
Xena, whatever your name
princess.
is.
Yeah, sure.
You are not listening to what I'm saying. If this study is going to lead you to the conclusion that the solution is we're going to prescribe these pills, you are basically saying what the cause is.
Well, they're saying the solution is to do this because it seems like it's working, and we should keep going in that direction.
But you don't know what the cause is in the first place.
Yeah, sure, you never do.
It just seems like it's working. But if it just seems... Hold on. It seems like it's working, but you don't know what the cause is in actual reality. So what actually are you doing? You don't know. This is why they say you're tampering with something you don't know. It just apparently works. But what are the side effects? What are the long-term implications? What are the long-term results? You don't know these things because you don't know the cause. But you make it seem like you know the cause when you prescribe the pills in this way. You're implying you know the cause and you fucking don't.
Have you ever looked at a medication bottle? I'm pretty sure on them they say like, oh, by the way, we don't know if this will help this specifically. All these side effects.
Yeah, but like, guess what? Yeah, but guess what?
It's for like physical medication as well.
Yeah, but like I said, in all modern science, it's a matter. Okay, first of all, listen. We are talking about the so-called social science, not the hard science, which is what medication is doing.
Hard sciences do these as well. All science does this.
But it's not the same because in that case, you are operating under a paradigm of how human physiology works. How you understand how the psychological sphere works is entirely different.
I mean, that's
because
why you
it's not
say how you measure
unlike in the case of the hard physiological medical sciences, where there are attributable causes and effects, or at least apparent causes and effects.
No, there aren't. Can you show me a study that is of the hard sciences and like biology or chemistry that say like this causes this? Can you like 100%?
Well, obviously those exist.
They don't do that.
Yeah, they do. Obviously they'll say this causes this reaction, this causes this result. Obviously they do that.
I'm pretty sure they
Obviously they say this causes this adverse reaction most of the time, or for this percentage
of the time. Yeah. Most of the time. Yeah, sure. They might say like this has a correlative factor.
No, they don't say correlate. They say it causes.
No, they don't. The first thing you learn in every single science department is correlation doesn't equal causation.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that these hard sciences don't deal with causation. They do. They demonstrably do.
But they don't.
Yes, they do. Just because they reject the view that correlation is causation doesn't mean they don't seek to discover the actual causes of things.
Yeah, sure.
In their studies.
Yeah, exactly. They do seek causation, but that doesn't mean they say...
What you're talking about is absolute... You're talking about epistemology, whether it's absolutely known if this is the cause. And obviously they don't claim that, but they still are saying it's the cause. They still do it's the cause. They still do make pretense to the objective cause.
So I'm pretty sure you're saying that like the main point is that we don't know everything. It could have this side effect. It could have this side effect. It
Yeah,
could have
and
this
what
side
they'll
effect.
say is that the
It is
risk reward is
all
this.
science.
They talk
Yeah,
about,
sure. The
listen,
risk
it's
reward
risk and reward.
situation. Sure, the risk and reward and
Right. But the
situation
reason it's risk and reward is listen, the reason it's risk and reward is because you can't deal with it just by thinking, as far as we know. Maybe we'll get to a point where we can master some kind of ancient wisdom or spirituality where we can do that.
Yeah,
But for now, if you have, for example, if you have a bacterial infection inside of you, you take a Z-Pack or something, and you don't even know what you're doing in your body, really. You really don't know. But if you want to stop that infection from getting way worse and killing you, you just take the pill, and that's what happens. But when it comes to something that's psychologically and mediated, consciously mediated, highly subjective, when you're treating the cause of that in the same way, you're doing something very dangerous.
Well, you're doing that the same way, and
because
like,
you are withdrawing from
like,
you are withdrawing from and abandoning your basic human subjectivity and objectivizing you at your most fundamental level.
Any type of over-the-counter medication is going to be more risky. That's why they don't put it over the counter, and you have to go through like different medical professionals.
Zena, it has nothing to do with whether it's risky. When I say you're doing a very dangerous thing, I'm saying you're engaging in a fundamental act of denying your own subjectivity, more or less.
How is it dangerous?
How's it dangerous? Because you're doing things to yourself. You're doing things to yourself which are not only known in terms of their effect and so on, but there is no clear relationship between the so-called psychological result, the subjective result, and what you're doing to yourself.
There's usually pretty high causation in these studies. Well, yeah, that's why they conclude that like we should try to continue doing this thing. It's because it has a correlation.
Yeah, but you don't know what's happening in that case. You don't actually know what's happening. It apparently works, right?
But
you don't actually know what's happening.
I guess, but like, I mean, you don't know what's happening in every single scenario. We could say that.
But here's the difference. Since it's something consciously and subjectively mediated, right? You're not dealing with it on the terms of its actual existence and expression in the form of subjectively and psychologically and so on. You're not dealing with the phenomena in the cradle of its actual essence. You're dealing with it like it's an objective, natural, scientific phenomena that's reducible to that, rather than, for example, addressing it at the surface level. So in this case, the correct thing would to do, for example, would be to focus on the symptom and not look for a physical cause. Just focus on the symptom.
Yeah, so it seems
that's what, for example, psychoanalysis does. Psychoanalysis focuses on the symptom. It doesn't look for the actual physical cause.
Are you done?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I did. You just didn't let me before. Yeah. So I think we were talking about like what's the difference between the subjective consciousness, like the subjective, or we're not measuring subjectivity. You record the subjectivity and then you measure it through.
Do you record the recording of the subjectivity and then measure the recording of the measurement? Because it's an infinite recursion. You know that, right?
What?
This is the basic kind of German idealist Kantian paradox. What you're talking about is an infinite recursion. You can't draw a real line between objective and subjective when the object is subjective. You can't draw a clear line.
Okay. Please don't go down this like what's it called?
No, I insist on going down this road. You have come to a place in which this is a place of enlightenment, not the place of Anglo-Box. This is a place where we do talk about Kant, Hegel, all these things. To take seriously all issues and all matters. I'm not getting trapped in your dumbass Anglo-Box. This is not university. This is not medical school.
If we're talking about,
I can mute you. You know I can just mute you, right?
I mean, you can mute me if you really don't want to hear what I'm trying to say.
If I don't want you to go F, do that shit again, I'll mute you.
Okay. So if we're talking about,
and stop trying to sound like Destiny.
Okay.
You say okay just like he does too.
Okay. So if we're talking
Okay.
about subjectivity,
Okay.
so if we're talking about subjectivity versus objectivity, and we're trying to show the difference between these, and then you bring up an argument in which you say, "Oh, well, you see, it's an infinite recursion of what
Yeah.
is subjective, what is objective." It seems like we kind of like break the whole system, and we were arguing under a like a premise already, like of like how we were understanding these concepts, but it kind of seemed like you broke the concepts, and we have to go back and fix them. So that's why I was not wanting to go down that path, because it seems like what happens is like we were already working with like a pretty well understood like difference between what is subjective, what is objective, and then you kind of just like broke that. It's okay if you want to go down that road to
Let's go
determine.
down it. I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. So let's go down it.
Okay, sure. So I'm guessing I would say subjective is usually something that you can't like physically measure, that you usually have
No.
to. Okay, well, what would you say
You
subjective is?
can't really physically measure dark matter, or most things in quantum mechanics, modern physics, are not physically measured. They're just based on mathematics. So I would not agree with that definition of subjective.
I mean, can't you like? Uh, okay, so what's your definition of subjective then?
Yeah, subjective concerns the very position of the enunciation of the subject, the embodied subject in the conscious being, who is intervening in the natural world, the natural, so-called object of natural science, in such a way so as to measure it, so as to quantify it, and so on and so on. And the reason we draw this Cartesian distinction after modernity is because we draw a fine line between us, our consciousness, I, who I am, my identity, my selfhood, and all this kind of stuff. We draw a distinction between this, the observer, the subject, the conscious being, and the world outside of us, which is apparently outside of our consciousness and outside of our subjectivity, and which is therefore treated, according to modern science, as a kind of dead thing, something that's not a person, not a subject, not something with thoughts, not something which reflects upon itself and has the quality of self-reflexivity. Okay, so for example, a stone does not reflect upon what is a stone, who is a stone, what does the stone do. It's just a stone, right? That's all it is. So an object is a strict cause of the subject.
Okay, I'm gonna try to summarize this because said a lot of words. I'm just trying to
No, you're
make sure
not
I'm getting
educated.
it.
That's the issue.
Okay, yeah, so I'm trying to get you to educate me. So that's why I'm restating the sentence in my own words so I can understand it so we can continue with the conversation. Can I do that?
Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So I'm guessing you're saying that like subjective is something that you can't observe with your consciousness, while
No,
objective is
no.
okay. So can you say it in a way you would think I would understand?
Yes, I'll say it one more time.
Okay.
It has
In a
nothing
way,
to do with, it's not about whether you can observe it or not. It's about whether you can externalize it and objectify it in the first place and embody it as a thing that is outside of you, or outside of the sphere of discursive, intercommunicative rationality, if you want to go down Habermas, whatever you want to call it. It is something you can
okay.
externalize into a thing.
It's something what do you mean by externalize?
Something outside of the realm of consciousness, language, subjectivity, and so on and so on, and agency, and so
So
on and so on.
so it's outside the realm of
Thought, consciousness, subjectivity.
um wait. Okay. If it's outside the thought, like you can't think about it, that's subjective?
If it is something that is not for itself, it's only for you. Does it make sense better? It's only in itself, like a rock. It's not for you. It's not for itself. You are the subject for whom it appears, or it appears to be relevant or significant or whatever. Like, you know the word subject in grammar, right? It's pretty much the same thing we're talking about. A rock would be the object, you would be the subject, because the rock imposes its significance, its relevance for your sphere of experience for you. In itself, you don't have any business with that rock. But you are the thing, you are what the rock is for, as far as your world of meaning is concerned. The rock exists for you. And when what it is in and of itself is not relevant to you.
And that's not relevant to me because I can't know if the rock exists.
It's not relevant to you because insofar as you make it relevant, you become the subject of the manner by which you interact with it or think about it or deal with it.
With the rock?
Yeah. Insofar as you make this rock an object of your concern, you are the subject of the rock.
So, what do you mean by concern?
If you think about it, interact with it, or make it concern yourself with it in any capacity.
So, if I think about the rock, that means the rock is subjective?
You are the subject. The manner by which you are engaging in a subjective process. You are thinking about a rock. A rock doesn't think about itself because it's an object. A rock doesn't think about you, as far as you're concerned, at least, because there's no language that mediates any relationship between you and the rock.
Okay, I understand. It just clicked. Okay, cool. So, so how can we translate these concepts to what we were talking about earlier?
Well, you're the one who wanted to clarify the difference between subjective and objective.
Well, yeah, that's because it seems like
okay. Let's translate it then. Okay, if you are taking a given psychological phenomena, a given psychological, subjectively, linguistically, consciously mediated phenomena in reality, and treating it like an object, isolating it as an object, for example, at that moment.
Oh, are you just against like Western forms of medicine?
No, I'm advocating right now. Ultimately, my position is not relevant. But for, let's say, devil's advocate, I'm just advocating for a normal, modernist position on the question of modern science. You are beyond the shadow realm of you are beyond the threshold of what I would consider sanity with the way you're describing it. I consider the modern science's progression into trying to treat the subjective phenomena as a objective natural scientific phenomena to be a form of civilizational madness, right? But insofar as we're going before this neoliberal period or whatever, yeah, the basic modern position is that there's a difference between a subject and an object. Subjects are rationally, discursively mediated beings through language and through thought and so on and so on. And the objective natural world is something outside of us. The minute you start to treat human being as an object outside of us in this kind of way, you engage in a type of barbarism. That's the modern Western position. Of which we have departed from significantly.
I don't really care if it's the modern Western position. But like, okay, so, what does this have to do with the what does this have to do with the overall point? It seems like what we were talking about before was you had a problem.
You are trying to address a psychological, mental, subjective phenomena in an objective way.
How else would you treat it?
Of course, subjectively.
But how do you measure something subjectively?
You don't measure it. That's the thing. You don't measure.
So how do you
someone's
treat something subjectively?
How can you measure an individual experience? You can't.
Yeah, if you like objectively measure it, that's fine. But like, okay, so
you can't measure someone's actual subjective experience.
How do you make any studies off of subjective experiences then?
That's why I think modern psychology is all bullshit. Throw it in the garbage.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Throw it in the dumpster, all of it. Burn it all like they burned, like the Mongols sacked the Library of Baghdad, like Julius Caesar accidentally destroyed the Library of Alexandria. Burn, destroy all of it.
Fahrenheit 451, yeah, okay.
Of course.
Got it. Yeah, okay. And so you're saying that you just can't give a
No.
objective reason for a subjective experience?
No.
And what's the reason?
At least if we're in the realm of modern science, no.
Yes. Well, I mean, you can do it.
If we operate from the basic Cartesian distinction, which is the founding of modern natural science and the medical field and everything, no, you can't.
What do you mean? No, you. I mean, I can.
Can you measure love? Measure love for me.
You can. Okay,
Yeah.
Sure. You can go ahead and give people a survey, and then
Yeah.
you can say, "Hey, have you felt in love before?" And then they can mark yes or no, and you mark those
Okay.
numbers down as 1 and 2, and then you can start putting this on
So
graphs.
your inputs and your outputs are basically what are they going to output on the survey. So, for example, the way you would interact with that operationally would be, you would produce a different. Oh, this time they said no, they didn't love their mother, right? You're not actually addressing the core of their experience, though, in any kind of way. You know how you would address the core of their experience? You'd say, let's talk about your mother. That's what Freud said. He said, sit down, let's talk about your mother. Let's walk through your experience as a child. Let's actually explore that. Let's not treat it as a static, objectified output because we're lazy and we don't actually care about people's inner experience. We just care about the extent to which they comprise phenomenal impressions on our horizon of experience. You're basically saying, oh, get this phenomena. You're just treating the phenomena's output, not actually addressing its actual essence or its actual real cause.
Well, measuring the output is how we figure out.
No, it's not. Because listen, this is why Americans are fucked up in the head. You are intervening and manipulating all of the output. No, listen.
Anything.
You people of the medical establishment, you are manipulating everyone's output because you're sick of people complaining and whining, and you're doing it to such a point that you give them all these pills and they become zombies. Oh, the output's fine. But inside, deep inside, in their subjective experience, they are screaming. And then when they go and commit suicide, you go, huh? Well, we gave them all the pills and we did all this. Huh, I wonder why they went and committed suicide. Because you didn't even fucking interact with them in a human way. You treated them as a fucking object, and you just gave them a bunch of fucking pills to solve their fucking problems because you were sick of the phenomenal output without concerning yourself in any critical capacity whatsoever for the real cause.
So, I'm not a psychiatrist, by the way.
Yeah, but the medical establishment, and your consensus has led to the so-called crisis of mental health we are now experiencing in America.
I mean,
I blame you.
Okay. Just a second. Okay. So, yeah. So I think what you have a problem is people measuring things in an objective way, but I'm
measuring subjective things.
Yeah, in an objective way. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. So, how do you measure things in a subjective way? And if you can't, which I'm guessing
you don't measure it. Measurement implies quantification.
Sure. So how do you know
interaction?
How do you know if a treatment for?
I'll explain to you how it works.
How do you know if a treatment for a subjective problem is helping?
You cannot treat a subjective problem from the perspective of medical natural science. You can't. I would say go seek religion. Go seek psychoanalysis. Go seek spirituality. That's how I would respond to it. And let me tell you why. Here's where the line begins and ends.
Wait.
When you are talking about how to subjectively help someone, you're implying two things. You're dealing with two things. Let's say there's someone who's fucking miserable with life, and I want to treat them, right? There's two things that are being implied here. One, I'm assuming a state of subjective happiness, a baseline norm, and I'm saying, you know what, this person's miserable, but they could be happy, because I know happiness, I've experienced happiness. Why don't I try to interact with them in a way so they could see what I'm able to see, right? That's one. So you are assuming a premise that happiness is possible. as a human being. That's an extremely subjective, spiritual, whatever you want to call assumption. Because what if from a philosophical perspective, what if the miserable person is right and they're actually true? What if they're correct? What if there is no meaning to the world? That if we are honest with ourselves about what our place in the universe and in the cosmos is, we should be fucking miserable. There are philosophers who have written that the only honest thing humanity can do is collectively commit suicide, right? This is up for contention that must be dealt with spiritual and philosophically. It's not a given. You can't just assume that people should be happy or people should be okay. So that's one of the ways it's subjectively loaded. The second thing you're going to be assuming is that you can communicate with them in such a way that as a human being, as a subject, you are basically the same as them. That you, like them, are human, and that even though you don't know them, you are living in the same world as them, living in the same universe as them, and sharing the same subjective, discursive, rational, whatever you want, space as them. You're not some scientist, in other words, who's above them, who's going to solve their problems and cure them magically. You are no different than them. You're just another fucking guy, right? You're going to communicate them, get on their level, and they're going to come to an understanding that you are just like them, and vice versa, and so on. So you're going to work with them in a way that is mutually imperiling both your subjectivities. You're not going to be a scientist sitting in his ivory tower who's just assuming that his subjectivity is safeguarded and unaltered, and he's just going to treat this person like an experiment. You, as the person intervening in this person's life, you're going to put your skin in the game. You're going to put your own heart on the line too. Right? That's what it means to help a friend in need. When you have a friend in need who's suicidal and depressed, you don't go up to them like you're an impartial scientist who doesn't, who's outside. You're going to say, look, dude, I get it. I understand. I'm miserable too. And then you give them words of encouragement. You do things like that. You be a human being who's able to get on their human level. Those are the two things you have to be assuming when you're talking about subjectively treating someone. Things like quantification, things like measurement, that kind of shit doesn't fucking figure into it.
Wait, okay. So how do we figure out if these types of subjective ways of treating subjective measurements, how do we figure out if these things are
what
working?
The fuck did you just say? Subjective ways of treating subjective measurements. What the fuck does that mean?
If you have a therapy...
There are no measurements! There are no measurements! Subjective or objective, whatever that means, subjective. There's no measurements!
Can I speak? So if you have a person who's going through a really tough time, and you're trying to be there for a friend, and then it's like, oh, cool. Maybe this helps them. Would it not help this person? How do we know?
You don't know.
Maybe we should.
That's the contingency of a subjectivity.
We don't know. So is there? Because I think there's a way that we can know.
No,
it's if we combine these experiences. So let's say this person had this experience, this person had this experience, this person had this experience.
Absolutely not.
We're all kind of human.
There is no mutual subjective interaction in that case whatsoever.
You don't think we can ever make
comparisons? You are trying to foreclose a mutually subjective experience and substitute it with taking the sum total of subjective experiences and producing an objective result. And you can't do that.
You can.
No, you can't. By definition, you can't.
I'm pretty sure. Wait, can you repeat it? Hello?
So... Can I repeat it? No, I'm not going to fucking repeat it. I'm sick of you asking me to repeat shit that I've been trying so fucking hard for you to understand something so fucking simple. You're treating it as objective, but it is actually not objective.
Wait, you're not treating it.
You can treat it like it's objective, but in reality, it's not. If you agree, where is the objectivity then in that?
Okay, so you're not treating the subjectivity with an objective statement. If you're going through a therapeutic approach, you would be measuring it in objective standards, which isn't you interacting with the human at that point. You would be doing this as a sort of analysis.
From the perspective of modern science, modern science, not the monster that is outgrown, that lives now. Modern science is in the Cartesian modern science. So-called psychological health begins and ends when you say as a human being, I am no different than you. I don't know something objectively that you don't know, but I have found a way to understand the wisdoms and the trials and tribulations of reality. Let's say I'm your father, I'm your grandfather. That can help you. Or I'm someone in your life, whatever. But ultimately, I don't have knowledge in the sense of modern science, which is going to solve your problem. We're all here. We're all here. I don't know something you don't fucking know, right? We're all here sharing the same.
Maybe you do.
We are all here. No, you don't. Not in the sense of objective scientific knowledge.
To me, right?
We are all here experiencing reality in real time. I don't know something in terms of someone's spiritual, psychological, conscious predicament that they don't know in the sense of the knowledge relevant to modern science. I'm here just like you're here. I'm dealing with the fundamental torsion, the fundamental cut at the heart of being that gives rise to self-reflexivity and subjectivity. The fundamental melodrama of human being, of human ontology. I am also at the mercy of that, just like you are. We have, in this sense, the same problem. Okay? I don't have a solution to the problem you don't have, because I have the same problem, and the only thing we can do is I have learned to come to peace with this problem in a specific way, right? But I haven't found a way to abstract myself from this problem that is subject-object division.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you say you're a confident person?
Okay.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. So like, if you are trying to explain, like, let's say someone, like a close friend comes to you, and they say, hey, well, I'm not feeling very confident. I need a solution. Would you say, well, this is a subjective experience. I could never know what you're facing.
What?
And I could,
no.
You know, this is something
you
that you
literally
know, you
listen.
really treat with like any type of other situations or anything. Or
are you?
no.
I want to ask a question. Open question. No.
The
open
knowledge
question.
you know.
Yeah. You're so smart. By the way, you're so smart. Open question. Okay. Are you? And maybe I'm not doing this to make fun of you. I mean, I don't make assumptions.
Oh, no.
Do you have like a physiological impairment that doesn't allow you to like communicate with people or like understand what people say? Do you have like a language disability problem? Anything like that I should be aware of before I let's talk about this? Because I'm pretty sure I remember saying pretty clearly that language is what mediates the common mutually subjective experience between subjects. So no, you don't say, oh, I could never know. You get on their fucking level and say, oh, what's going on? Why don't you have confidence? How do I give my own fucking check? That's the worst example you could have given. You go by example, and if there's still a barrier, a fundamental barrier that you can't, like the reason why you have objective natural science is because there's a barrier. I can talk to a rock all I fucking want. There's some kind of barrier that can't be bridged, right? Now, if you're a humanist, whatever barrier is going on between you and another human being, you're going to try the hardest you can, if you're a friend, to cross that barrier. If you fail, you bring your friend to someone else and you keep trying. And you bring them to a holy person. You bring them to a sheikh. You bring them to a priest. You bring them to somebody. And someone who's smarter than you to talk about them. But ultimately, the truth is, you have the same problem that they do. And listen, most of the time how it works is if you have a depressed friend, most of the time is that the person can't help their friend. Because if they were honest with themselves, they're no better. They would also be depressed too. It's just they're too stupid to realize it, right? If you come from a perspective, for example, of psychoanalysis or psychology, something like this, then it's going to be different because you have acquired an interest in these things because you are yourself trying to cope and deal with this pathologies. Or it can even be religion, right? So. If you're a very spiritual person, you say, oh, I understood where you were. That's why I adopted religion. That's how Jesus saved my fucking life and prevented me from fucking... I'm not me personally, but I've talked to so many fucking people who come from that place. Jesus saved my fucking life. If it wasn't for Jesus, I would have fucking killed myself. So many people have told me that, right? So
Yeah.
everybody has the same problem, basically. Not the same form of this problem, but nobody's above somebody else where they're going to act like there's some kind of a lab coat scientist who has some kind of objective
no one's above
insight.
anybody else, but some people are more like experienced, just like you said, right?
Experienced
Like,
in what? These scientists you are talking about are spiritual pygmies. They're not experienced in anything.
What?
If I went and fucked their wife, they would cry and break down entirely. Don't tell me these scientists are experienced people. They are experienced in nothing that concerns the fundamental wisdom of human experience. Now, they're experienced in going to school and being eggheads and writing shit on their clipboard and whatever the fuck they're doing, but they are not experienced in the sense of fundamental human experience. Don't give me that bullshit. My fucking grandma more experienced than scientists.
Okay, so do you think your grandma is more experienced on something that maybe she hasn't read a lot about, versus like a person who's read a lot about a subject, talked to a lot of people on the subject, has like done a lot of like...
Okay, listen, Destiny clone number 5444.
Yep,
Which you seem
me.
to not fucking understand, right? And your Destiny voice is so fucking annoying, by the way. What we are talking about, you're not just talking about reading something. That something is something fundamentally subjective. So don't get it twisted and try to weasel your way into making this innocuous. Say, oh, do you think that maybe a nuclear scientist knows more about your grandma than how to operate a nuclear reactor? Yeah, obviously, but we're not talking about the same fucking things here, are we?
Sure.
So stay on topic.
Talking about how to best help trans people. Let's say like trans people are really struggling with like their identity. They're saying, hey,
listen, you know what? Here's what I believe. If you're an adult, you do whatever the fuck you want. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you see fit. I'm not going to bother you. But I'm against you pushing this on children.
I wouldn't want to push it on children.
I'm against you putting hormones on children, manipulating with children's sexuality, giving them hormone blockers and puberty blockers that are going to permanently alter them for life. There could be a guy. What if there's a little boy? He was destined to grow up with a really big beard, really strong muscles, super tall, really big manly man. You give him these blockers, then he regrets it, and then for the rest of his life, he's going to be more feminine, right? And you just took something away that he'll never get back.
Testosterone? I don't know.
No, you took away something from him. He will never get back.
Well, that's what he wanted, right?
He was too stupid to know what he wanted because he was a fucking 7-year-old child. Because he was a 7-year-old child. He was too stupid to know what he wanted.
That's why you go to a therapist and
fuck the therapist. Where's the therapist fucking know? Even doctors don't know shit. I went to the fucking doctor once about a fucking something stuck up my fucking nose. He said, "Oh, there's nothing in your nose, nothing in your nose." I blew it out. There was something in my fucking nose. Even you're acting like these people know everything in the fucking world, and they don't.
This is a personal example, and that's not like a...
There's plenty of examples of plenty of people who know. Even fucking doctors don't know it all. Even fucking physical doctors know it all. You think a therapist has unlocked the secrets of the human mind? Even fucking doctors don't even know how our body works, but we still do it anyway because we have to. But when it comes to our mental, subjective space, you understand modern science rests upon the assumption that my body is different from my head, my consciousness, my soul. My body breaks, so I go to the doctor, fix my body. When you're targeting the inner experience of consciousness and subjectivity with pills and shit, you are violating someone's humanity at its most visceral level when they're a fucking child.
Okay.
And gender identity is one of those things that are inner visceral experience. You are altering with something of a child. They don't know anything. That's a child. A child doesn't know anything. And you're going to fucking make a decision, a life-altering decision that's going to impact them for the rest of their life? Hell no.
I haven't seen any information that shows it would...
Yeah, you're a robot. You're a robot.
Well,
you're a robot. You're coping, pretending to... Listen, you've trained yourself to talk like Destiny and talk like a robot because this is how you cope with This is how you cope with life. To be a robot, this impartial, robotic type of person, I see right past you, Xena. I see right past your robotic facade. I see right past your robotic facade. You're an
You sure
emotional
the
person. You're
person?
gonna break
You,
down and cry in
you
times
sure
in
the
your life.
person?
You're not some robotic Destiny type of person. You just
Are
are. You're
you
not.
sure?
You
Are you?
do that because it makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel elevated. It makes you feel above the world. You're not above the world. You below
I,
the world.
uh, okay. Wait. By you
Okay.
saying I'm below, by you saying I'm below the world, doesn't that make you feel like you're above the world, and that's what you're trying to do with
Yeah,
your
except
audience
it's
right now?
true. Except it's
Oh,
true.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So how much Destiny have you watched?
I watched him back in 2018, but I don't know how that has to do with any of the
Because you
validity of
learned
marriage.
all his ways of talking.
Um, okay, well, it sounds like you've watched a lot of Hassan. Have you
How?
like?
I didn't watch a lot. I didn't watch that much of Hassan. What about
Yeah,
John
that's.
Zerka? Because that's the guy I'm most familiar with, John Zerka.
Oh,
But even them, I don't
oh,
copy
okay.
him with
Well, it
such a
sounds like you
one-to-one.
copy a lot of
People
the
have
points
said
that
my
John Zerka
cadence.
makes,
No, no. People
right?
have said sometimes my cadence resembles him.
It kind of
But
sounds
you
like
are
John Zerka.
100% Destiny in every way you speak.
Well,
There's
you're
nothing about you
100%
that's
John Zerka
original.
in every way you speak.
I'm 100% what?
John Zerka.
Really? Am I?
Yeah,
Really?
100%.
100%?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not. That's a cope. That's a
Okay.
cope. You even try to laugh like Destiny. What is wrong with you? You're like a skin crawler. You're walking around in Destiny's skin. It's like you want to be Destiny himself.
I mean, not really. I share
You're
a.
creepy. You're literally creepy. You know
I
he's his
mean,
own person, right? You're an over excited fan. You're an overly enthusiastic fan. And you
dude,
might
I'm
even
just
be like
trying
that
to come
Stephen
on here and
King.
debate you.
I tell Destiny worried for these people because you see to be like that Stephen King movie where you're gonna capture him. What's that movie where the fan captures the author? What's that movie, guys? What's that movie? Everybody knows that movie. She captures the author.
Well, let's hope you're never in a room
Misery,
with John
misery,
Zerka. Okay.
misery, misery. That's what's gonna. Destiny better
So
watch
you
out
can
because I fear
you
for
can
him.
keep like insulting me and stuff.
But of all the
If
people
you
to
want to
copy,
go back
why
to the
Destiny?
argument, I'd love to, but if you want to
Because
just
you are a
insult me,
robotic, broken record. You keep saying things I've already addressed. You're not moving past what's already been addressed and addressing it in a new way. You're just saying the same thing you did before.
okay, you've literally said that like you can't treat any type of subjective science. This is a pretty like uh crazy claim. So
Oh,
I'm
we live
trying
in a
to.
crazy world. Don't worry.
Okay. So I'm trying to
There's no subjective science. All soft science is bullshit. It's not science. I think that all, this is what I believe.
you can't try to like
No, here's what I believe. All
other
non-STEM
topics.
education, all non-STEM hardcore science education should not only be bankrupted, destroyed, abolished, and so on, but in a legal way, ceremoniously by the government will do it, ceremoniously bulldozed and burned
Sounds
down.
really corrupt to me personally.
Huh?
That sounds really corrupt to me.
And all the people who are peddling these false they should all be thrown in jail. That's what I believe too.
Dude, I love just taking away people's freedom of speech.
No,
Hell
I
yeah.
agree. I think that's because our freedom of speech
Awesome.
has led to the abuse of children, so I want to protect children.
Um, okay. Do you have any evidence showing that like there is some type of like abuse towards children?
Why? Hold on. This is so silly. This is what Lacan calls the discourse of the university. Why do you demand objective
Very
evidence
John
when you
Zerka.
know very well that I qualify giving children hormonal blockers a form of abuse? Why do you need evidence? There is nothing empirically in
Oh, wait,
dispute
you
right
think
now.
that's abuse? Why
There
is
is
that abuse?
nothing empirically in dispute right now. Nothing
Wait,
is
yes.
empirically speaking in
Well,
dispute. You look
yeah,
at one
true.
thing, like for example,
Well,
you see
well, okay,
Vaush's.
so you're
For
assuming.
example, it's not empirically in dispute that Vaush is saying pedo shit, but you just deny it's pedo shit, right? So you don't have to say what is the
Wait,
evidence. You have to say why are you calling it pedo shit. You don't need to this copium of a
yeah. Well, I
evidence
didn't
is
know
your
what you were
copium.
meaning.
You got
I
evidence.
didn't know
You
what
got
you meant.
evidence. You
Well,
got evidence.
I didn't know what you.
You got evidence.
So I didn't know what you meant by child abuse, but now that
You
now
have
I
evidence you didn't
now
know
we
what
can
I meant by child
communicate.
abuse?
Yeah, I asked it.
You have evidence you asked it?
Uh, I mean, aren't you streaming this?
You have evidence that you just asked me the question, are you streaming?
Um, look, it's getting late. I'd love to talk to you again.
Do you have any evidence that it's getting late?
Um,
And do you have any evidence that you consider it good to talk to me?
If you're just gonna keep doing this,
do you have any evidence of what I'm gonna keep doing? No, let's shift to Vaush's.
I understand.
Let's shift to your defense. I just got told
like Vaush pedophilia or whatever.
Yeah, I just got told you defend Vaush's pedophilia. So let's talk about
that type of stuff. Like I don't know if you're gonna keep doing this type of. Well, I mean, do you have any evidence? Like I don't know, dude.
Well, let's talk about your defense of Vaush's pro-pedo takes.
Pro-pedo takes?
Yeah. You defended them before, right?
I think I said I'm pretty sure that a lot of the clips that people were posting were taken out of context, and I don't think
Wait, they were taken out of context from the Discord?
Yeah, people were posting clips.
Okay, yeah. Situate their context properly.
Sure. So I'm pretty sure there was a clip. I'd have to look back on it. I'm pretty sure there was a clip that said, Vaush was saying, like, I think it's totally okay for people to have, like, or people to, like, use child pornography for some type of value to be gained in society. He said this type of claim, but the thing was, it like cut off right there, and the rest of the claim was, if we are going to allow different types of what are they called, like things you produce. Things you produce. If we're going to allow different types of things you produce and like buy. If we're going to allow these types of things to be made by children in like child labor places. So he was trying to like compare it to that. It was a really like bad comparison. It sounds really bad, but like
hold on. Clip out of context. But Vaush knows that there's no way we already are having.
Look, I'm not that.
Hold on. We are already consuming computers and all that kind of stuff. So the only meaning that Vaush could be saying is, we should just we may as well allow it if we're going to continue to consume computers. He was
anti both. So he was anti. He was trying to give an argument against. I think he was talking about like a vegan discussion, and he was saying like. He was talking to like a vegan, and he was saying like the hypocrisy of a situation in which someone would say, "I'm not going to."
Yeah, but that's a pro-pedo porn take, right? He's defending pedo porn in context. Now, ultimately, he may believe.
So there's another.
Ultimately, he may claim that he's.
That's the rape of children, right?
No. Ultimately, he may believe that in the Big Rock Candy Mountain there shouldn't be any. But insofar as we live in this fallen, depraved world, we may as well have it, right? And here's what's interesting is that what about the other clip where he just straight up said there's nothing morally wrong with it?
I'd have to see the clip.
You want to watch it right now?
I'm not super well read on this.
Yeah, do you want to watch it now?
Yeah, can you like share your screen?
Yeah, we're gonna go on it. Do it right now. Peter Wiley. Vaush.
So my original claim that I made was I don't think he said anything like pedophilic.
Someone in the Discord, link it to me. So Vaush created a community of clips.
In the Discord.
I'm going to show you a few of these. I'm going to show you a few of these actually. There's actually a lot. So we're going to just see some, not all. There's way more than this, right? But
okay, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the point of this is. Like,
yeah, sure. I just want to see if this was all taken out of context.
Okay, sure. I mean, like, I don't know what, I'm not, like, a huge Vaush viewer person, so I'm not going to know every single, like, clip or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, we're going to see, right? We're going to see if this holds up. So let's look at Vaush, and I'm going to mute my mic, and I'm going to give you a chance to watch.
Okay.
CP is free. If you're...
Can you pause it if I say pause?
No, there's a delay.
not paying for child pornography, then there is no
Wait,
argument in favor
it wouldn't be a
of more.
delay if you're streaming it.
Can you shut up so we can? You're interrupting it.
You're not streaming it.
Yes, I am. There's a fucking delay.
Wait, no, there isn't. If you share your screen, there's no delay.
I'm not gonna share my stream. I'm just gonna stream it. Just watch the Twitch.
I thought you were going to share it on the the
No,
Discord
just watch
call.
it on Twitch, so the audience can see too.
Wait, wouldn't it be easier to just have like your YouTube like tab and then go to your share screen thing on Discord and then share it so that we can watch it in real time?
No, just do this.
Okay, let me open up your stream. Just a second.
There's gonna be a delay.
Okay, I have to open up your stream. I think it's gonna give me another ad.
CP is free.
Yep.
If you're not paying for child pornography, then there is no argument in favor of morally condemning people who get it.
I would not say that it is unethical for a person to purchase child pornography. It's just morally neutral. It's not ethical and it's not unethical.
Should consuming child porn be legal? I think that would be, yes, more legal and more ethically consistent. Yes.
Wait, didn't it like cut off right there in the clip?
You want me to play it again?
Didn't it cut off right there?
You know the context for why he said that?
Oh shit. I mean, I don't know the exact context, but I do know it's cut off. Like, you could. I mean.
All right, let me ask you. Let me ask you. I don't even know if I can put this on Twitch. Let me read you something from Vaush's Discord. If you need the evidence, I can send it to you. On Disney. Can you tell me the context of this, where this would be permissible? Well, wait. If the sex bot is just a toy, then why does it matter if an adult fucks a kid robot?
So, I mean, he's probably being edgy. I mean,
is that edgy?
Yeah,
he goes, or now he's talking about lolly sex bots. Is that just edgy?
I mean, technically, like, if you, he's not wrong. Like, if you have a, like, it's not harming a children. That's why the take is funny, I think.
Wait, there's nothing wrong with that?
I mean, if it's not going to lead you to harming actual children, if you're just like looking at like
you don't think that the fundamental pathology of pedophilia is something inherently fucked up, and you think it's okay if there's actually a pedophile acting upon their fantasies as long as no children are involved?
As long as no children get hurt, yeah. I'm anti-children getting raped. So as long as...
But you're actually cultivating, you're promoting the culture of children eventually getting hurt.
Well, yeah. If we're promoting something that would lead to children getting raped, I wouldn't.
Of course it would.
That to happen. Yeah, sure. Then
why? What do you think the fantasy comes from?
Probably.
You fucking people, and by you people I mean you leftists. You boycott all media, Dave Chappelle, video games, for the slightest, smallest shit. Right? It's not politically correct. But you're okay with robots that are made in the image of children for people to have sex with?
Yeah, if it leads to...
You're okay with VR lolly porn?
If it leads to less children getting raped, then yeah. Are you okay?
I think it just speaks for itself. No, I really just think this speaks for itself.
Are you not for things that give children...
I am 100% against pedophilia in all its manifestations.
I mean,
I think every pedophile belongs in prison.
Well, I'm
at the minimum. At the minimum.
I mean,
whether they harm children or not.
That's kind of fucked.
Anyone who has pedophilic feelings, who has engaged in any type of pornography, whether it's involving real people or not, anything of that matter should belong in prison.
So, I mean...
all culture which promotes the abuse of children should lead to criminal charges. That's my view.
I mean, yeah, if it leads to the abuse of children, yeah.
All culture, which gives expression and fantasizes about the abuse of children should be criminalized.
I think if you're fantasizing about
Unfucking believable.
Actually harming
Unfucking
children,
believable.
The worst thing, right?
Unfucking believable.
I care about outcomes when it comes to like.
Unfucking believable.
Well, okay, so
unfucking believable. Dave Chappelle can't tell jokes on Netflix, but this is allowed, right?
Unbelievable. Okay.
What do you think about Dave Chappelle?
What do I think about Dave Chappelle?
Yeah, was Netflix responsible in giving him a platform?
Were they responsible in giving him a platform?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's like objective, yeah.
It's okay?
Wait, you're asking, were they responsible? I mean, yeah, they were.
No, was it a good thing? Do you agree with their decision? The platform.
To host his thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I don't think like these types of things should be prevented from being on Netflix.
Okay. What about white supremacists on Twitch or on YouTube? What about them?
I think as long as they're not like contributing to some type of like advocation for harm. I'm not really one for like silencing people.
What if they just what if they just want to fantasize about it? Like, what if there's a game on Steam where white supremacists want to fantasize about committing?
Isn't that called Hearts of Iron 4?
No, where they, for example, the game Hatred and games where people fantasize about committing heinous acts of violence against minorities. Would you be okay with Steam having that on their platform?
I mean, yeah, it's fine.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, it's called Call of Duty. It's what the game does.
Grand Theft Auto. That's not what Call of Duty does.
Punching people.
So you're okay with a Steam game like a Ku Klux Klan role-playing game?
I mean, yeah, sure.
You're okay with it? You would not protest, have an issue?
I mean, I might be like, that's a little weird, but...
What about if it was against sexual minorities?
Wait, just a second. What the fuck? Are you playing music in your background?
No.
Okay, I just got some like epic battle music from somewhere. I don't know where it came from.
What if it was against like sexual minorities, like transgender people and stuff? You would not have a problem with it?
If they're like, if it's a game... so I mean, I would have a problem with it. So, during these
now you're wait. I just gave you an example of a clan role-playing game where you're attacking racial minorities and black people, and you have no issue with that. But the minute I bring this up, you're gonna have nuance and you're gonna have second thoughts.
During these issues, I'm assuming that like there's no type of like outside consequences for these things. So like if you ask me,
no, there's no such thing as a vacuum. Everything is related.
Yeah, sure. So not in a vacuum. Yeah, I'd probably not be okay.
Okay. So Steam. I'm not talking about a hypothetical world. I'm talking about now.
Are you listening to something?
No, I'm not. I'm talking about now. On Steam, now, like right now, right? Not a hypothetical vacuum. On Steam, are you okay with Nazi and Ku Klux Klan and this kind of violent stuff? Now, just right how it is now.
Am I, if they made a game out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably be not really for that.
Okay. So when Vaush talks about how he can't wait for there to be, he anticipates that if you really want to F children, wait 20 years for VR lolly porn and don't tell anybody you use it. You said you kind of agreed with him about the robots and the VR porn. Did your mind change or what? Because you said you agreed with him.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how the best way to phrase this is. I agree with him in the sense that, like, if that is something that would prevent you from going out and, like, harming...
Wait, but that's not... Children. Hold on.
However...
We're not talking about that. We're talking about here and now. Like, we're talking about future sex robots, because it's technically... Listen, your original argument is that technically... Shut up. Your original argument was not about the consequences leading to less harm. You said, since children are not being harmed in the consumption of this media, minorities, including trans people, are not being harmed in the consumption of this violent video game hypothetical I was talking about.
Yeah.
And yet you managed to say, you managed to claim that you're against it, right? But when it comes to pedophile content, you're for it. It's okay.
So in the background of these issues, so like if we have a game, so the problem with like these like situations, since they're not in a vacuum, you have to like figure out like what would be the things that would happen from these types of situations. And in some situations, I don't know what happens when pedophiles watch lolly porn.
But that's not what you said before. Are you walking back your position now? Because your position before was that since children are not involved, there's no issue.
I thought we were talking about in a vacuum, but then
you said since children. No, we're not. No one mentioned a vacuum, so I don't grant you that assumption.
Okay,
no one was talking about a vacuum. I don't buy that you were thinking.
When you say like, hey, if you had a train and you could switch the train tracks so that you'd kill one person instead of 5 people, would you do it? And then in a vacuum, I would think, oh yeah, I would do that. However, if we actually think about like the situation and everything, me going and doing that,
Zena, you're trying to weasel your way out. So let me walk it back to you. I read out a quote by Vaush. Well, wait, if the sex box is just a toy, then why does it matter if an adult fucks a kid robot? We did not talk about a vacuum. We didn't talk about the real world consequences. We talked about none of those things. All you said was that, yeah, I agree with him because an actual child is not involved. And we went through the course of argumentation on that basis. Then I gave you examples of violent video games where minorities, including trans people, are not involved, obviously. It's just a video game. And you're committing acts of violence against them. And you managed to muster the ability to say that you would be against this. Well, why initially did you say you had no issue with what Vaush said?
So, because I'm assuming in this interaction that there's, like, if the pedophile's, like, watching lolly porn, then they're not going to be going out and, like, raping kids because they can do something that wouldn't harm kids. But if they just want to harm kids, and this is, like, leading them towards that, then, yeah, that's kind of fucked, and I wouldn't want to allow it.
Wait, hold on. Why didn't you say that? I'm just assuming that. You didn't say that. You said because kids are not involved, there's no issue. You said you agreed with Vaush in that sentence.
I said it's because
you said you agreed with the sentence.
Don't walk it back now. Harming kids. I said specifically it's because it's not harming kids.
You said that way after when I cornered you.
I said it's because it's not harming kids. I'm pretty sure in the beginning.
No, that's not what you said. You said because it's not harming kids in consuming it.
So that's what I meant then.
But then when I said, let me explain to you what actually happened, since your memory is so short. What I actually said in response was, you're promoting, shut the fuck up.
I don't really care
what I said. What I
meant was that
I don't give a fuck. You're trying to fucking cover up what happened. I am the one who said, oh, so you want to foster a culture that's going to lead people to commit kids? Oh, no, in that case, no. I just agree with the opposite. I agree that it's not going to. So only when I brought up the fact that it's a culture that promotes pedophilia, which is self-evident fact, you decided to adopt the opposite position. But, for example, in the case of games where you're committing violence against minorities, all of a sudden it's common sense that we should all agree that, if you're doing it in a video game, you're promoting a culture that fosters violence against minorities. Then why isn't it that when you have sex robots, you're not promoting a culture that promotes violence against children? Why is it okay to have pedophile content as long as children aren't involved, but not content that is promoting violence against minorities? Why do you have this? Why is it that one is okay, not the other?
Okay, it's because I don't think that the ideation towards like wanting to kill minorities is the same as like wanting to have sex with children.
Why not? Explain why not.
Because I think the ideology of like Nazism and white supremacy.
Sure.
I think these things are more of. I think these things are more because they want to see minorities dead, and not because they get like satisfaction from seeing minorities die.
Hold on.
So like,
you don't think they get satisfaction from it? You don't think there's a visceral racial hatred underpinning that ideology from which they do get satisfaction?
Sure.
So do I have to just merely add the rate? Let me add the variable.
Can I? Okay, so in both situations,
if you're gonna say something that I already anticipate, I'm gonna cut you off. By the way.
Yeah, that's fine. And if I don't finish, I'm gonna cut you off. So, okay. So there's two different variables. There is wanting to actually do it just because you want to do the thing, and then getting pleasure from seeing the thing.
So it's a pathological... Yeah, I already anticipate your fucking argument. Shut the fuck up. You're saying pathological sexual satisfaction is not inherently ideological. It's a physiological, pathological sexual satisfaction. So, First of all, that's making two assumptions. One, the assumption that violent racial hatred and violent hatred against minorities is not fundamentally pathological in a psychological sense. Every psychoanalyst would disagree with you on that point. The second assumption that you're making, which is utterly shut the fuck up. The second assumption you're making, which is fundamentally fucking wrong, is that all I would have to do, according to your own logic, if we live in this la-la land, according to which there is no psychological pathology of satisfaction and enjoyment, which is not merely ideological in a racial hatred against minorities, is add the variable of, okay, what if it's just a simulator where you can rape women? I'm an incel misogynist simulator where incels have fantasy of being able to rape women, commit violence against women, and rape them.
I can make all of these examples clear.
The last one is qualitatively different, so you're not going to put it under one umbrella. Okay. The last one is qualitatively different because the last one doesn't include any ideology behind it. It's just a man.
I'm going to make all of these. Okay, I'm going to make all of these situations clear. Okay, so I think it's okay for you to, if it's like, let's say you have a desire to do something. And then whenever you do, if you could do that thing, but nobody gets hurt, that desire would go away. And for the period of time, and you would be that problem would be resolved.
Including violence against trans people in a video game.
Yeah, sure. If you have some type of...
I'm not saying, by the way, for the audience, I'm not saying in a video game I'm saying a Steam game, a piece of media, actual Steam game.
Well, so... I'm not sure if these things should be held to the public if they're for these types of things, because I think that can have some negative implications.
But pedo shit can.
But I think that no.
But you agreed with Vaush's original point.
Okay.
I thought you were assuming it means that it's not going to lead to any harm to children at all in the long term.
Yeah, if it
why are you now? So wait, but you intuitively, intuitively, you understand. Hold on, intuitively.
If it doesn't ever lead.
Yeah, but intuitively speaking, you know that's not true for a video game where you're engaging in violence against trans people. Intuitively, you seem to understand.
No. So the
reason, intuitively, you seem to be able to understand that in that case. Of course it's going to have real-world implications and meaning.
The reason is because in this situation, I'm assuming that the person who wants to, kill the trans people in the video game actually wants to kill trans people in real life and is, going to do it.
Why not in the case of the pedophile?
Well, yeah. However, in both situations, if the person who's killing the trans person in the video game, if that's going to help them not kill trans people in real life, I would rather them have a video game where they can kill trans people.
Okay, sure. So why do you make the intuitive assumption that the pedophile is not going to lead to an outcome of more children being harmed, but in the case of a trans game, it is going to lead to more trans people being harmed?
Because I think the difference between these is pedophiles usually they just have an attraction to something.
So there's no ideology involved, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a belief that something should happen.
Then let's, since we're not going to agree on that point, let me give you something that you probably should be able to agree on. Why is it that there's ideology involved in a rape simulator then? What if a guy is just horny and wants to, and has a kink where he fantasizes about committing sexual assault against women?
Yeah, and then he goes into like a rape simulator or whatever.
Yeah, on Steam.
And this is like closed off to the public.
No,
and
it's a public, just like the pedo shit. It's a public game.
Okay, I wouldn't want it to be public in every single situation. What? Yeah, I don't. I think that.
Can the pedo robot can be public?
No.
But Vaush just said, well, wait, if the sex bot is just a toy, then why does it matter if an adult fucks a kid robot?
When did he say that's going to be public on Steam?
It's a how else would this robot be obtained?
You could go to like a therapist who like
you think Vaush was implying this is a therapist form of therapy? The therapist.
I mean, it might be.
Well, that's an assumption that was nowhere implied.
Well,
but let's just
also an assumption
to
assume it's going to be like a public thing on Steam that everyone's going to be able to consume.
Listen. I want to explain to you the actual context. Even though it would be just as disgusting and heinous, we can go down that route. I want to just clarify so you can't gaslight the audience about what actually happened. Vaush was implying in his Discord thing that it is completely morally neutral, nothing morally wrong. It's just a bot. Doesn't matter if an adult fucks a kid robot because it's just a toy. And you said you agreed on that. There was no implication about therapy. There was no implication that this is going to be closed off from the public.
Yeah,
he said point blank period. If there's a sex bot, an adult is fucking it, and it's a child, it looks like a child or whatever, there's nothing wrong with it because it's just a bot. It's just a robot. It's just a toy, right?
Yeah, in that situation, also, he never made an assumption that it is going to be public, so you can't, like, assume that it was going to be public.
Listen, unless he the burden of proof would have been on him to clarify that it shouldn't be public, because if he didn't want it to, why would he assume it's not going to be public?
Why are you assuming it is going to be public?
Because point blank period, he said there's nothing wrong with it, and the reasoning he gave wasn't because it's therapeutic, or because it's reducing harm.
Maybe I disagree with
the reasoning he gave is that it's just a toy. The reasoning Vaush gave is that it's just a toy. You may be researching medical stuff. Logic is not your strong suit. He said it's just a toy. He didn't say it's because it's therapeutic. Otherwise, he would have qualified why there's nothing wrong with it. Are toys inherently therapeutic? Is that what you mean? That we should assume toys are inherently therapeutic? I think the contrary is true. I think the contrary is true. Toys, when most people talk about toys, they're talking about something that you just get publicly. You don't get it from a doctor to be for play, for pleasure.
Okay, so in that case, I disagree with Vaush's, that part of
Vaush's So we have to go through all of this. We have to go through all of this. Because you failed,
he never said it was public.
Because you failed to weasel your fucking way out of saying you agree with Vaush. Now, after being cornered, you're saying, "Oh, now I can't. No way out of this one. Okay, I concede." Listen, from a common sense perspective, you know what you fucking said. You know what you fucking meant. I just caught you with your tail between your fucking legs, and you walked it back. You're a fucking coward. Not only are you a creep, not only are you a pedophile apologist, you're a fucking coward.
Fucking coward. Yep, that's me.
Yeah, you are a fucking coward. Why don't you have a seat? Why don't you have a seat? Right over there. Have a seat.
Okay.
Have a seat right over there. Why don't you have a seat? This is Vaush's community, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is the people that are making these Reddits about me. This is them. Caught in 4K, out in the open. This is who they are.
Can you listen to what I was saying?
Can you listen? After you walked it back like a fucking coward. You know what you originally said. You know what you meant. You know what you said that you agree with Vaush. You know exactly what was fucking implied. Nowhere were anyone talking about therapy. Nowhere could you justify selling this idea to us that, I thought it was implied it was going to be for therapy. I thought it was implied it was going to be for therapy. I thought it was implied that it was going to be in a vacuum. I thought it was implied. No, you fucking didn't. There's no indication anywhere on fucking planet Earth, anywhere under the fucking night sky, anywhere under 10 degrees blue sky, there was that fucking implication. You agreed with Vaush, point blank and period, and you walked it back after I broke down why you're a fucking hypocrite after giving you the example of a Steam game. Simple as that.
So, so what I was saying in the very beginning was that I think it's. Wait, are you shaking? Okay, wait, never mind. So, what I was saying in the, I didn't assume it was going to be like a public thing because Vaush's statement never said, "I want this to be like a public application." That
Listen,
could be applied.
okay, so you thought it was going to be on Mars because he didn't specify it was going to be on
No.
Earth.
I didn't think it was because it was going to be on Mars.
Wait, but he
I
didn't
meant-
specify it wasn't going to be on
He
Mars,
didn't-
so we should just roll with the assumption that's what you thought, right?
Okay, but the
We should just believe you, right? If I say,
Okay,
oh, I thought
if you
Vaush
said-
meant it was going to be
you
on
said
Mars.
if you say this thing is okay, I'm going, and then I say, yeah, this thing is okay in this scenario. Do you
But
think
then
I'm
if the burden
disagreeing
of
with
proof
that
is on
claim?
you to qualify under what conditions, not just agree with it when it's not being qualified.
Well, if you, oh, okay. Look, if you want to,
Because you're a liar. You did agree
wanna
with Vaush's original take.
if you
Oh,
wanna-
as long as there's no children involved, it's okay. Then you kept adding qualifiers because I kept cornering you and showing and exposing the pedo nature of Vaush's community. Pedophile Vaush community. Pedophile VGG. Pedophile VGG.
pedophile. Okay. Pedophile.
Yeah. Yeah, keep dancing. Keep having fun. Keep having your fucking fun.
I am having fun.
Yeah, keep having your fucking fun.
Are you not having
Keep
fun?
having your fucking fun, right? By the way, you have solidarity with those workers at Netflix?
Wait, am I outside right there with those
No, do you have
people?
solidarity with them?
Do I have solidarity with
Yeah.
them? I mean, if they
Yeah.
want to protest, they can.
But they're all gonna get fired.
Too
Too bad, right?
No, that sucks.
Too bad. They're all gonna get fired.
What does this have to do with anything? What?
Yeah. How much longer do you think the American people are gonna take their intelligentsia being comprised of a bunch of fucking pedophiles? How long before we start passing laws putting people in prison for advocating for the things you and Vaush do?
I would hope never because we have.
Well, it's
freedom
gonna
of
happen.
speech in this country.
It's gonna happen.
Do you not believe in the freedom of speech?
Fuck no. Not when it comes to pedo shit, no. I don't
Okay.
believe in free speech in that case, no. No, I don't.
Well, it really is the red fascism. It's the
Anyone who's not a pedophile, they call a fascist nowadays.
Oh, okay.
So I don't care. Your insult bounces off me. Like bullets
your
bounce off
insults are
Superman.
bouncing off of me.
Yeah.
You've called me a pedophile this entire
You're a
time.
pedophile supporter, pedophile apologist, pedophile adjacent. And Vaush is a fucking creep who's in all... We have everything but the proof that he's one himself. Everything but that. All arrows indicate one direction. All arrows point in one direction. All arrows point in one direction. We have everything but absolute
I
proof.
make a qualifier.
We have everything but absolute proof.
Is this what you do? Do you just like scream at people and then like I don't know, dude.
I don't know, dude. How long is that Destiny
not give,
reenactment
like,
gonna help you cope? Gonna help you cope? For how long? You gonna keep coping, pretending to be Destiny?
What's the one meme where it has the one guy with like the crying thing behind a mask and it says, "You're coping, you're coping."
Fuck out of my fucking VC. Biggest fucking copium I ever seen in my fucking